303,695,352.
Just reboot.
I think that was the number.
It's a special purpose.
Just so you can see it. The computer doesn't care. So you can see 4,000,000,000, 300,000,000, 303,000,000.
Yeah, but they put it into the language for purpose, on purpose.
Yeah, just so when we look at it with our, as humans,
Yeah.
it's easier for us to read it. The computer doesn't
If you
care.
take it out, it's really hard to spot.
Yeah, but this is the same thing as saying 4,303,695,352.
It's the same.
It's the exact same thing.
You said it's not.
Yes, to change that, I can't go back because I'm doing a cat. To the compiler, well, I can't cover it up on my screen because you can still see it. To the compiler, those two sides are exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to type it out again. Okay, so now we have to make, so we made one part work, but now we broke another part. So we have to go and do this. So I'm going to add another module. I used to put that in there for CPANs, because I don't like warnings on, but it checks for warnings.
Yeah, I saw the no warning sign.
Perl is a blessed language.
Okay, so I'm just going to put this right here, but normally I put this at the top. I'm going to say use scalar util, which is a module that comes with Perl. And there's a function in there that is looks like number. So any string that looks like a number to Perl will return true, and any string that doesn't, it will return false. So I don't know if it's 100% perfect for this use, but for now we'll use it. So I'll do this. I'll say unless, okay, there's a bunch of different ways to do this. I want to check both arguments to make sure they both look like a number. I'll do the simple one, which, for like the learning Perl level, looks like number $m, and this is the logical and. Well, here I can just do this. Let's be smart.
Is it checking the type or is it more like duck typing?
It's not checking the type, it's just looking at the string in this case. Is that your question?
If it looks like a number, it treats as a number.
Yes, it's for this it's just looking at the string value. It's not Perl doesn't have in the core language types. And Bruno will tell you that with Moose you can automatically do these sort of checks. You can say it has to be an int. I think you can say things like it has to be an integer between like 0 and 10, and you can have complex types with conditions and all sorts of fancy stuff that makes it so you don't have to do this sort of stuff. So unless both of those look like a number, I'm just going to say return.
Right.
And
It's also important because looks like number tests for pretty much anything. I mean, you can have strings that are numbers.
yes.
You mentioned the one with the underscore. It's actually a number. It'll pass looks like number. We also can have exponential with the e, and it will also pass looks like number.
So what we're going to do,
and math will work.
So let's do this. Now let's do the make test. Now this should cure the part where we pass the two string names. Okay. So we're getting better. So now let's do what Bruno said. Let's do oops, I don't want to edit the module now. I want to. So let's try some more things. Let's try I'm just going to call it $R is object. Let's add 2E3. Okay, so the engineering notation, and then 16. Let's do that. I think this is not going to work. I think this will pass to look like a number test, but it will not add them correctly. What we'll get, I think, is 18. Because it will, I don't know. I'm going to find out. I have not tried this before. No, wait. This will work because it is a number, the compiler is going to look at this and turn that into 2000.
Yeah.
Okay, but we're gonna
But you can stringify it, I think. You
we'll,
can add the quotes.
we're gonna try both ways. So now we're gonna do a couple of tests at the same time. So we're gonna say is $R, and I want this to be 2016. Uh, uh, engineering notation works as number. Okay. Now I'm also going to do this. At the same time, I'm going to do this. I don't like naming variables like that, but just so we can move faster, I'm going to do this. 2E3 like that. And I don't know what's going to happen. Is $R. I think this should be 2016. Let's see. Okay, so let's say engineering notation works as string. Let's see what happens. Really? Okay, now here's the trick with doing tests. You have to say, do I really think that the test passed? Because sometimes you do something like, I didn't save the file, or I'm surprised that that works. I want to see.
It's the second is should be R2.
Yes. See,
He spotted it. Yeah.
there's when something like that happens, you can't just think that
The test can be wrong.
the test can be wrong. That's right. And it often is wrong, at least when I do it. Okay, I want to also go back and fix this. I shouldn't do that. I shouldn't change two things at the same time, because then you won't know which one broke the thing.
It won't break.
Okay.
Okay, I want to look at the.
It shouldn't break.
I
Because it looks like a number.
but will I get 2016 back? Should I get? Well, here, let's do this. Okay, I'm surprised at that result because I've never tried to do that with a string. So let's do this. Let's do Perl-le, print 2E3 as a string.
Right.
Plus 16. Now, here's another really good thing to do. You guys probably already know this from programming. When you run into a problem, don't try to solve it in your main code. Write a little script that forgets about everything else, so nothing else gets in the way. Now, how many people think this is going to print 2016? Well, at least one. I'm kind of thinking it's 60% one way and 40% the other way. I'm not going to tell you which way. So when you get to it,
Right.
I know why it does this.
Can you jailbreak to it?
Yes, okay, so this is the last thing. We'll stop right here. I know why it does this because I actually had to go through the Perl source code to find out how it does exponential notation, because it rounds off a little bit differently. And I know how it parses that number. I had forgotten how it parses that number, but I wrote about it in a blog I have called, if you go to www.effectiveperlprogramming.com, I have a long blog post on how this gets parsed. And as this is parsing as a number, it actually recognizes the E there and continues on. I've never tried to use that for anything though.
But it works.
Okay, so that's how basically you do it in Perl. It's the same process as in other languages, and you saw a little bit about how Perl has its testing stuff. It's in the T directory. We have the test more module that has some convenience functions for us, and we just go on. Do good input, do input that you don't expect, and do input that maybe you don't know what's going to happen.
Can I ask something?
Yes.
At the test, can we go to the test?
Oh, yeah.
The test file. It's nice to keep the whole object in a scope. It's nice.
Okay, so in this one, I made this object here, and I use it for the rest of the test file. A lot of times, I will make new objects in here, But also, I like to make very short test files that do one thing and end up with a bunch of test files rather than have one big test file that has make an object and do a bunch of stuff. Okay, that's done. Make another object, do a bunch of stuff. Just
Okay.
I don't do the full test, the unit testing stuff, the like test class.
Test class, yeah.
That you do a setup, a test, a teardown, or a shutdown, and whatever order it is. I do that idea, I just don't use the module for it. So I do a lot of setup stuff. That's all setup stuff. And then I do the stuff, and then often the stuff I do doesn't really have a teardown. I don't have to like disconnect from a database or release something or clean up a network connection or
I
something.
guess the difference when you have setup and tear down is that you're executing these two procedures. Let's
Yes.
call it every time you run a scope of test.
Yes.
And this time you're running it only once, some at the beginning, and then you run many tests, and you have to think that the test doesn't change the object,
Yes.
and then you can do the tear down if you need.
So, like I said, so I do lots of little files. So that would have one group of tests. Now, the other thing you saw in this is when we run this, oops, not that. I want to run the other Perl. You're in there somewhere.
Connect.
Oh, you got to come up at some point. Now I've gone too. Oh, there we go. So you see, it just says OK1, OK2, OK3. So it's not like this one is set up, this one is now the test, whatever. There's a very new thing that's been added to Perl called subtests to the test more module, where you can say, okay, I do OK1, but then this group of stuff goes under the one test. It's a subtest. And so all those, if one of those things fails, then one fails. And you can start to do that thing where you group things together. I could go on and on about what I'd really like to have in Perl testing, which we don't have historically. I'd really like to have a window that pops up and you can click which test you want to run, and then that's easy. But then C, as it goes through, like you have like maybe in Java with Eclipse or something, you can see this feature is failing, not like this test is failing, but like this feature is failing. But because the way Perl does this with this very simple format, which we call TAP, Test Anywhere Protocol, we sort of were too simple to provide higher levels like that without getting into really complicated
If you
things.
write more than one OK statement, you add, it doesn't matter in which scope it is, right?
That's right.
If you create many
Perl,
scopes and run.
because this is literally what you see here, what goes to standard output. And then there's a test, they write to standard output, then there's this other thing, it's called the consumer, which reads standard output and just says at the end, pass, fail, 85%, or whatever it is. And it doesn't know these three tests were together, these three tests were together, or anything like that. It just knows OK1, OK. It doesn't even care about the labels. Okay, so thank you for listening and being kind and asking and spotting mistakes. I actually learned something.
Can I ask one?
Yes.
In a testing model, in a test file, is it strange because they test like use DojoRio when you call the DojoRio, they consider test every call that you do that in that file.
Yeah, that's a test.
The, okay. Okay.
And then see this function comes
Okay.
from test more.
Okay.
Most of the ones I made with like OK or is or something like that. This one comes from test more. I can make up my own too.
Okay.
Like I could just say. Now this is gonna.
I guess it's not gonna work.
Well, I'm actually kind of okay. So you see, there it is.
Okay.
Okay, but that's just now. Let's see what this does.
I thought it would print to
So this
else.
finds test out sequence. So it knows that last time I saw 2, and I saw 3, and I saw 3 again.
I didn't pay attention. Sorry, it's my fault.
No, it's okay. I've never actually tried to do that, so I've never gotten that error before.
Nice. Yeah.
Is there another way to test? Pro
There are
Unity.
people who try to use their favorite testing thing from another language.
Like test class, there's
Well,
also test
like
most.
test class does a lot of the same thing, but like there's people who come up with their own. They don't even use the tap stuff. They run their own um, test files, and it makes its own output, like XML or whatever it is. And then something like, say, Hudson or what's the other one? What's the one that starts with C? I'm blanking on it now. The things that the continuous integration servers.
I don't know.
There's a very continuity. I think that's or what's the one that JetBrains makes? Yes, yeah. They're just servers that read the output of test files, mostly from things like Java or enterprise things, and then it puts it in a database, and they can make graphs and all that sort of stuff. People run that sort of stuff in Perl too. So they have to do a different sort of output. That output goes in the database with all their other stuff, and then they can
Yeah,
look at that.
I think I use at one point CI Joe, which is
Okay.
in Sinatra, but
Is that the
Ruby.
Ruby thing?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it used tap.
Yeah, because Ruby likes tap, because there's a Ruby library for tap now. Sinatra's the thing that's like, that dancers like Sinatra?
Yeah.
Which is like, the, what's the Python one? Because Python, it was Python first, and then
No,
Sinatra,
I think
then,
it was
or
Sinatra.
Sinatra
I
first?
think Sinatra was first.
That's right,
I'm not
that's
sure.
right. No, you're right, Sinatra was first.
Then
There's this web framework called Sinatra in Ruby. I have never looked at it. There's one called Dancer in
Perl.
Perl, which does the same thing, the same idea, but then Python copied it too. If you come up to the US for OSCON this year, there's a talk on Dancer. I mean, I don't know if you should fly all the way to Oregon just to see the talk, because it's online actually. Maybe we can get the guy to come down here and give the talk.
Yapsi's coming up.
Yes, Yapsi's coming up. I'm going to try to be there.
So me and Rodrigo, we found out the way to do the perfect test in Perl.
Is to not write a program.
No, you did it, but now we can see it. You just had -1 test failing.
Yeah.
When you wrote it down,
When you
okay, hahaha.
when you trick it with the
Oh,
compiler,
yeah.
they put -1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you got
strange.
negative test failing. That's great.
Yeah, your test is.
So it's like you get a credit for being good. And you, since you're such a good programmer last year, you can have 5 tests failed this year.
Yeah.
Okay.